One of the concepts, though, I agree with you on equity, but one of the other concepts that we work with our clients on is what's called path to partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're bringing an advisor in, we don't lead, oh, you're going to get equity.
Yeah.
It's here's how you can earn equity in the practice. So having a plan in place, or at least a general outline of how someone becomes a partner in the practice, I think is important if what you want to do is bring that talent in and then retain them. I agree with you that I don't necessarily think it's important to bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're importantly, young and early and mid-career advisors aren't thinking about socking away tons of money in equity. They're thinking about paying the mortgage, putting the kids through college, all of the things they're talking to their clients about. So equity in a lot of cases like that is so far in the distant future where it doesn't necessarily become real. But it invariably, in the third, fourth anniversary of that hire, when they've established a rapport with the ownership of the practice and they can see themselves there over a long period of time, that conversation starts to come up. So we do work with clients on path to partnership and say, hey, look, it's really minimum 3 years, sometimes 5, 7, maybe even 10 years before they can actually become eligible for equity. So we are coaching our teams around that. But I totally agree, from a pure recruiting standpoint, I need a person in the seat. Leading with equity is probably going to be a fraught conversation.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think so. I was going to kind of add into that one of our number one downloaded resources was, advisors. The title of it was, as a G2, how do I ask my boss for equity? How do I access an ownership conversation with them? And so just sort of seeing from conversations I have many conversations with people that have been in that practice, and owners have promised them a space potentially, and they just keep pushing it off and off. And so a lot of advisors that I see that are G2s, are starting to look for new homes, specifically because there wasn't a pathway built for them. And so to your point, retaining that talent, having that pathway to equity seems to be a valuable thing to have. But yeah, just sort of understanding how that relates to in those recruiting spaces. I had an advisor reach out to me who didn't have a succession plan in place. He had a smaller practice, but he was looking for a talent that he could bring in to groom into that ownership space. So just kind of going back to how do you match people as you're going through that process of, that next advisor. Maybe there's that advisor who's brand new, but they're, sometimes you get those younger kids and they're like, I want equity now,
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, there's a lot of reasons why internal succession plans fail, and there's a lot of reasons why promises are not kept. Sometimes they're internal, sometimes they're purely external. It's very hard to generalize that. Our advice is that if it's going to be part of the offer, then make sure it's in the offer.
Yeah.
But you're asking a very, very tough question coming in as an entry-level person and saying, when do I become an owner? It's like, well, hold on a second. Let's make sure we actually like each other first.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very challenging to unwind a bad partnership. And so a lot of times when the advisor, maybe they had an idea that, hey, this is someone I could offer equity to, but as they form a working relationship, maybe they're great with clients, maybe they're great with the staff, but they wouldn't be a great partner. That's a totally reasonable outcome to come to. So in situations like that, we have to make an assessment as a consultant of how important is this role to the future growth of the practice, and how much do we want to retain this person, or can we introduce them to the well and can we replace them, right? So we take those conversations very seriously, but it's important to note that equity is not, it's used as sort of this, panacea. It like solves all the problems. It doesn't solve all the problems. A lot of times you can use a different compensation structure. You can use stock appreciation rights, profits interest, synthetic equity. You can put formality and clarity around your bonus structure to make it actually feel like a partnership without having the legal burden. There's also tax implications, going from a W-2 employee to a K-1 partner, that can be a big shift. And a lot of new advisors aren't prepared for what that means. They're not prepared for understanding what the liabilities are of running a business. So I would say equity gets thrown around a lot because it's relatively unique and it's something to be desired, right? It can be very, very valuable. But the nuances of how it works on a day-to-day basis are not really well understood by, entry-level advisors. So my advice would be that if you're an entry-level advisor, you should understand that equity is complex. Do your best to understand that complexity. If you're an owner and someone is asking for equity, it behooves you to ask yourself the question of, what am I actually looking for in a partner? Because it's a question that they haven't really been asked before.